dynamic like in Los Angeles? Like, what's it like as a city? I know it's a big city, and
that's a loaded question.
Yeah,
that is a loaded question. So LA, well, there was LA like when I was growing up and things like that. So I'm 24.
Okay.
So LA when I was like growing up and stuff like that, and then LA now in the middle of being gentrified and like gentrification running rampant, and like all these big tech companies like moving in and like replacing like all the mom and pop shops that I used to enjoy and things like that. But now they're like replaced by like Whole Foods and Sprouts and things. And I'm like, bro, like this was a donut shop. Okay. Yeah. So like LA, it depends on also what part of LA you're going into, because some parts still have that charm, like that culture. So I was born and raised in Inglewood, California.
Okay, yeah, I know about that.
Oh, okay. So, so that still kind of has its charm, but it's like in the middle of being gentrified, which is a shame. So it's like,
I did not realize. Okay.
Yeah. Like all of these different spots that used to be like the hood and the projects and stuff like that, it's starting to become like gentrified, and like the people who've been living there for 10, 20, 30 years are being pushed out more towards out like the valley and like the desert, like towards where I live now, like the Inland Empire. And then even further, like where like, I don't know if you know like Palmdale, Lancaster, things like that.
I heard of Lancaster.
Yeah, so Lancaster, Victorville, stuff like that. People are like starting to move towards there, but they still have to commute back to LA because that's where all the jobs are.
That's where all the jobs
are, all the work, all of like everything that if you want to be like a filmmaker or a fashion designer or like anything inside the entertainment industry or anything when it comes to like buying and selling in general, that's all LA. So you have to go there in order to like actually like do business.
Yeah, that's what the demand is.
Yeah, so it sucks. And then I'm pretty sure that you've seen like plenty of memes and stuff like that online of how like Americans are complaining about like gas prices.
yeah, because we're experiencing the same thing up here. It has been wild.
Really?
Man, we use like liters instead of gallons. So now we're paying almost like $2 per liter. So liter is smaller than gallons.
Oh, yes, it is. So I know the metric system. So I'm just like, wow, you have to pay $2 just for
almost two. We're getting like I've seen that at like $1.79.
Right.
So like in some places. So like, yeah, it is very, very expensive right now. And I've been, a lot of memes have been going out like, oh, COVID is like slowly like going away.
Yeah.
I know California was very, like they were more strict with their kind of health regulations. Same with Ontario. And we've kind of like kept it that way until maybe the end of January. Then things started opening up. You probably saw it made international news. There was a huge convoy in my city. Like this was happening in my city.
Wow.
So it was definitely a wild time. And like cars were everywhere.
Yeah.
Literally everywhere. You couldn't get into the downtown core. You couldn't. Like there was no way you could.
That's crazy. I mean, like LA has finally started opening up now. Because our president just released a mandate in order to like wear masks, so you don't have to wear masks indoors and things like that, blah blah. I still be wearing mine, but because I'm like, let's wait a little longer. But yeah, like the division between different states was absolutely staggering. Like especially like the southern states, as you probably know, like all the southern states, you had like all the anti-maskers and things like that during like the apex, like the climax of the pandemic. They're like, no, we're not wearing a mask. And like Texas, Alabama, like all them. I'm like, yo, like y'all really wilding. Like not wearing a mask.
For sure. For
Right.
sure. Like, we kind of had the same thing too.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the province of Alberta, who
Mm-hmm.
they kind of resemble the kind of more southern states, like not
like as
like when
extreme.
not as extreme, but they still did think like they were still very much ahead of the curve. Like in Ontario, we still have our mask mandate. So when we go into stores, wherever, even though the capacity is like at 100% has been lifted, everyone still has to wear masks, right? And that's not going to go away till about, I think, in about 2 weeks, right? So we're still gonna have 2 weeks of we still have to wear masks in like public places indoors.
Right.
But Alberta, they they left that back in like at the end of like the convoy. They said we're out of here, like we're done. And some medical experts said that was it's too early. You know what I mean? It's too early. You should wait a little bit longer. But the premier is the guy that or the woman that makes like the decision, right? It's not the doctors. It's on him. So if he says we're not doing it, we're not gonna have these
then
masks
we're not
anymore,
doing it. Yeah.
we're not doing it. You know, and it was also a big there's a lot of contention with, you know, the vaccine passport, because we needed a pass at one point to get in certain places, right? So you need to show. I don't know how. Did you guys have that same thing as well, where you guys had like a pass to get in? Okay.
So we had our vaccination cards, and they still check them in LA right now. So but the thing is, it's like different, like county to county. So we go by counties, and like, so take like my county, for example, like the Inland Empire or San Bernardino County. And they were a lot more lax when it came to like the mask mandate. And also like, I haven't had to step inside of a single place that needed the vaccination card. Here in Inland Empire, so like Ontario, California, Fontana, California, Rancho Cucamonga, California. But if you see like most of the voters there are like leaning to the right. So it's all like, oh, okay, so these are like mostly red voters. So like people that are like Trump supporters and stuff like that.
Yeah. I feel you.
Yeah, so like that's most of the people that are out here. Like up in Norco and stuff like that. But in LA, it's more progressive. And those more people are more liberal, if you will. And like every place, like bars and stuff like that, they check your card. They're all like, do you have your vaccination card on you and things like that? You either have to like pull it out, or we have like electronic one now that you can just show.
We had the electronic one from the beginning.
Yeah,
it's a QR, it's like a QR code and stuff like that. Yeah, we had that from the very beginning. Yeah, it was it caused a lot of division. Because, you know, again, it was the same thing up here. People who leaned more right really pushed back against almost every health regulation that was made available.
Right.
Almost every single one. I was like, do y'all want natural selection? Like,
I think that's like, what they want. And honey, I don't think you're gonna survive because it picks the fittest and the smartest.
Yeah, I had to like have a conversation. I'm like, I don't think that's the best outcome. I don't know if we should let a virus that has been killing people just go unchecked. I don't think that's the best idea. I think we should do, you know, something to to help, you know, curb deaths and hospitalizations and stuff like that, especially up here, because our healthcare system is majority funded by the government, right?
Yeah. And must be nice. I don't know why the US can't do that.
I do have a bit of contention there too, because I see health as like not a privilege but a right that everyone should have. You know, people should, like, if I go and I have an accident, like, I want to be able to go see a doctor and then walk out of the hospital and not be like, oh snap, I have this bill to pay, I have this. Nah, I don't want that, because it's happened to me before where I've injured myself, had to go to the hospital, had to stay a bit longer, and like I didn't have to think about, oh darn, I'm gonna get a bill
in like 2 weeks time, or like the next business day that I have to pay. I've never had to think about that. And like, it's just stressful. I think it's just stressful to have to think about that. You get injured, it's not your fault, and then you have to go pay the thing. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. I will gladly pay higher taxes for that. I will do it. Gladly for like to have access to healthcare. Oh my gosh. No, I think that's, in my opinion, that's the best way to run like your healthcare system. It should be completely privatized, because then it gives room for a lot of bad actors, in my opinion.
So, but you know, you see the situation we're in right now. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's like the craziest part for me. It's just, oh man, I don't think people should have to deal with that, like the financial burden.
I'll never get over how the rest of the world has universal healthcare, or most of the world has universal healthcare. And then some people don't have to pay for education. And I'm like, bro, like that would be nice.
Yeah, it's the same thing up here. Most of our education is covered through the government. Now, it's not completely free, and tuition is kind of high, but it's like you can still make it through. Like a lot of our education, like higher education, not just like high school, like the higher education is covered by the government. So
how much is it though?
To be honest, I would say, like, if I were to put a number, I would say like a 50. It's still very expensive to go to school, but I'm not shelling out like $20,000 per year.
A semester. Sometimes it's a semester.
Semester even.
Yeah.
Like you'll see those type of numbers at like the master's level. That's when you start seeing those 5 figures per semester. Like you pay your 10K or whatever. You know, I haven't done my master's yet, but I have some friends that did, and it's very expensive.
Yeah.
You know, even more so than doing like the undergraduate degree. But I look at you guys, I'm just like, how do people pay this? How?
Right.
Like
they don't.
Like, they don't. They just go into debt. They just go into debt. Like, and I fully understand, because you need to fork out 5 figures. Boom. Who has 5 figures just laying around like that? Not many people do. And so you gotta be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to the bank. I'm gonna get like a loan or credit line to help pay for my studies, because after I'm done, I'm gonna get this job and I'll be able to pay it down back. Right. At least that's what we were sold, because we're in the same. We're both millennials, right? We're both millennials, so that's what we were like sold. Like, you go to school, sure, you'll go into debt, whatever, but when you get that job at the end of it, you'll get out of it easily. But then there's some economic turmoil that happened, and it kind of it didn't quite work out that way, right? And so we're like, for millennials, from what I've observed, I go to wherever pays me the most, because you don't really hear people staying 10, 20, 30 years. No, you don't hear that anymore. If the bag is there, I'm going over there. That's where I'm going, because I gotta pay these bills. I need to feed myself. I need to save up. Don't even get me started on housing. Like, it's just wild.
Don't get started on housing in LA and in Northern California. So the worst is in Northern California. You will never see like more ridiculous rent prices in Northern California, like San Francisco and stuff like that. But LA is like, it's getting up there. Like, it's up there. Really, really bad how much rent is over in LA, especially with, you know, everything getting more expensive and gentrification, like sort of inflating the prices of everything. So, of course, yeah. And there's no rent control. There's no rent control. So you're like, bro.
Oh, there's none? Like zero?
No, not zero. So there are some places that have rent control, but it's dwindling down. So like, if you're inside of a place that has rent control, do not move. Do not move. Like, that's like the rule of thumb. If you're in LA and you have a place and it's rent controlled, don't move.
Don't move. Wow.
Don't do it.
Don't move.
Don't do it.
Then,
because if it's not rent controlled, your landlord can just turn around and start matching the prices of all the expensive buildings that's popping up around you.
You could charge, you charge at market value, and then that must be tough. Because I know we have that up here. We do have our subsidized housing. It hasn't really hit them, but yeah, to own a home, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Mostly on like rent side too. Ownership has just been nuts. Wow. Ownership, it's like, I think I was reading the other day, the average price of a home, I think a single home in Canada is like $800,000. And
like 2-bedroom, 2-bath, or like, what are we talking?
I would say a detached home. Yeah. So a detached home, usually detached homes have like 2.5. They have like basement, 2 to 3 rooms, because our houses like tend to be a bit bigger, at least in Ontario. So yeah, so that like the house that my parents bought, I would say right now is like close to like $1 million.
Wow.
Now, but they bought it back like maybe 10 years ago. They probably bought it at like,
it's the same thing in LA. It's the same thing in LA. That's why they're like, if you bought your house already, definitely don't move. Definitely don't move. So, because now it's worth like millions of dollars, $250,000, things like that, because the prices just keep getting inflated. Yeah, it's just wild. And like also there's the supply. Supply has also been a factor too that has caused prices to really increase quickly. And I don't know what our federal government is going to do about that, because that is a thing, and they should address that. They have to address it, because you don't want a bunch of people that can't access housing. Yeah, pretty much. Like you need to address the problem. And it's, are you going to be doing, I know right now we have a first-time home buyer type of incentive, so they'll kind of front like a part of it, or banks will sometimes allow you to dip into your the American equivalent is 401k or RRSP up here, to buy your first house, but then you like pay it back over the span of like 15 years. Like there are options to do it, but with the rate, with how prices are going, we may have to revisit that all over again. Yeah, man. Wild. So I guess y'all having problems upstairs too. Like, of course, yeah. We're struggling up here too. We're all in this together. Pretty much. I mean, like, I definitely wanted to get like your perspective on like what's going on up there, because I was like, wait, they're based in Canada. Like, I can start asking like some BLM questions up there. Like, how did that go down? Just by the name of your company, I was like, wait a minute. After the song, I was like, after the actual language that means like showing out and showing off. So that's what it is, though. That's what it is. Like, that's nail on the head, because I knew, like, most people, when they hear the word Shakara, I'm not going to attempt it because it's pidgin, right? Right. It's like a lot of people ask, oh, what does it mean? What is it? Because we're very, very new, and you nail on the head. Like, that's what it means. It means to show out. I did my research, so I was all like, it don't mean no, and like Fela had the song too. You know what I mean? And so all of that was like, once we saw that, we're like, no, that's the name. That's the name we need. That's the name. Perfect. Well, okay. Well, before we dive inside the nitty-gritty of it, yes, sir. If you don't mind introducing yourself just for the audience and things like that, exactly what your company is about, the name of it again, and then I have like a bunch of questions for you, because I've already bought one of you guys' jackets, and I'm about to get another one. And I was just like trying to, I wanted to definitely like support you guys any way that I could. whether it's here in the United States and you just need an audience out here in the US, be
Yeah.
like, hey, like there's people up there in Canada who design all these dope jackets and you guys should invest in them. But
Wow.
please, without further ado, go ahead and introduce yourself. What's your position inside the company? What's the name of the company? Yeah, and we'll get started.
So my name is Jicky Wandji. I am a co-founder of Shakara Apparel. So my main role is mostly in business development. So looking for opportunities, see where we can grow. Yeah, that's like my main thing. See where we can grow, see where we can expand, and even streamline business processes that we have. That's like my main role. So anything kind of external is kind of me. What else can I say about the name? About the name itself.
The name and where you're located.
So we are located in Canada. We are proudly Canadian in the province of Ontario, Ottawa to be exact, the capital city. And the name comes from the song by Fela Kuti. And the name Shakara means to show out, to be bougie, to kind of be proud, you know? You have that little, you know, that bouginess. That's what it is, really. Yeah.
Awesome. And it's like every one of your team come from like Nigerian descent, or
Just one. So I'm
just one?
Cameroonian.
Oh,
I'm Cameroonian. So I'm right beside Nigeria. My other partner is Nigerian, and the other partner is from Benin, so Benin. So we're all like, you know, we're all pretty close.
yeah, definitely. And then you definitely have, I'm pretty sure that you all have like different perspectives and like different ideas and things like that. Have you guys ever been over to Africa and been over to those countries?
Yes, I went over to Cameroon. The first time I went was in 2018. So I spent 2 weeks there, traveling like the entire country. And man, it was such an eye-opening experience just to go down there. Like I visited like my dad's like house that he grew up in. I visited my mom's house that she grew up in. They weren't far from each other. They're like a block away. It's crazy.
Oh,
But I know it was
Mhm.
really easy to get from one place to another. But just like seeing just where they came from and seeing what they built now was just like eye-opening. It just made me appreciate them even more because things are tough down there. So like for some, like things are difficult, you know? And it's just wow. It really put things into perspective. My other partner from Nigeria, he's actually from there. He's born in Nigeria.
Oh, okay.
And so he grew up there for most of his life. He did some time in Atlanta, if I remember correctly. So he was in Atlanta for a little bit, but then he went back to Nigeria and then finally moved to Canada. So he gave me a bunch of stories about how it is over in Nigeria. And my third partner is actually born in Brooklyn. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, he's from Brooklyn. Oh no, sorry, my apologies. The Bronx, my bad. So he's from the Bronx. He's in the Bronx, not Brooklyn, Hamo Island. And he spent most of his life down there. He's been back and forth to Benin, and he finally moved up here because we all met in university, and that's how we got to know each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We can definitely relate then because the entire team of this podcast, we all met in university.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely when you find like those partners that you can actually conduct a business with and like move on to a professional setting, that's something to cherish. It's something to
Oh
cherish.
my gosh, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, when we kind of linked up because we've been friends since like 2008,
Oh, wow.
and so like we met, you know, in university, and we've just been friends ever since. Like we've been in each other's lives from that point on. We, you know, and we had ideas on, you know, on business ideas because we really want to do something. We really want to build something together. And after like exchanging ideas over and over and over again, we finally fell on Afro Apparel,
Yeah.
because we knew that it was something that was emerging as people really, or Black people really started to have more pride in like who they were and their descent and all that. And we wanted to be in that realm to push it forward. And that's how we really decided to go all in with Shakara Apparel.
Nice. Well, how long have you guys been open then?
So we've been open for about 2 years.
Okay.
So we kind of started just before the pandemic hit. Just before the pandemic, just a couple months. And yeah, we're going on year 2, and it's been a journey. It's been tough when the pandemic hit, because all of our supply chain really got messed up.
Yeah.
Really got messed up. So we had to work around that, make adjustments where we needed to, but we made it through. And we actually got more orders during the pandemic than before.
Wow.
So yeah.
Man, that's always inspiring to hear, like either small businesses or businesses that even just started up, like thrive during the pandemic rather than the opposite of what you expected, which is like, oh, we're probably going to struggle and like lose some money. But you guys thrived and actually grew. And I found out about you guys during the pandemic all the way down here in California. So that's just like super, super cool. Like, well, so who ended up with the designs of those jackets? Because I gotta know who to give credit to.
It was a collaborative effort. So it was all 3 of us. So we're going through pictures and motifs, and we're just like, we spent hours just looking through it, just looking through all of it. That actually took us the longest. That actually took us the longest, like setting it, because we all studied like business and economics in school. So that part wasn't too bad to do. But it was figuring out how, like, what designs to put on, what looks good on what.
Right.
How do we cut this material? Like, how do we want it to look on a person? That was actually the most challenging part. So we all had to put our heads together and figure it out. So it was all us. It was a collaborative effort. Yeah.
So what would you say? What would you say is like that aha moment? Like, this is it. Like, this is the one. Because I'm pretty sure there was like prototypes and you're like, no, I'm not feeling this one, and things like that. But like, when you finally hit like that, this is it. This is the one. This is going to be like our first jacket. When was that? And how did it come about?
When was that? I think, okay, if I remember properly, we're going through more designs. I think it was at night. And I think we kind of, actually, I think about it. I don't know how to describe it, but like, I remember for myself, I remember I saw one of our designs and I said, that's the one. Like, that's it. The black one.
Yeah.
For me, I said, we kind of saw it and we're playing around with it and stuff like that. And I was like, that's it. That's the one we need. That's the one, because you could wear that with like anything.
Right.
And that's what I said. And that's what we went with. Because a lot of our designs, like, it has a really nice pop to it. So if you wear an outfit, you throw on the bomber jacket, it's like you really stand out.
Right.
And it's really nice. But I also wanted to bring something a little bit more subdued. And that's where that design came out of. That's for me, though. That's for you, though.
So that's one piece of the one piece of the puzzle.
One piece of the puzzle. Yeah.
Nice. Well, so where are you guys at now? Like, are you designing more, either more bomber jackets, or like, are you moving forward with like something else? Like, oh, we're gonna start doing more T-shirts, or we're gonna do like fanny packs or things like that. Like, where is everyone's head at now that you don't have the pandemic sort of like weighing you down, and sort of like, the world is yours to pretty much sell to?
Well, I would say that with like the success of the bomber jackets, we're definitely gonna move forward with that. We'll keep those styles around for a little bit, and then we'll move on to something else. But in terms of like clothing, because that was what we built our company off of. It's just like it was the clothing. It was like the formal wear,
Right.
that we have. We're definitely we're gonna focus on that. So if you look on our site, we have some kaftans, we have some senators, we have what else? I don't know how to pronounce it. It's kind of embarrassing because I don't want to try and pronounce it. And if there's like other Nigerians listen to this, like, yo, who is this
Right,
guy?
be like, really?
Like, really? You know, tons and stuff like that. So for the men, there's actually we actually want to really reintroduce like the formal wear. I remember, I think before the pandemic hit, we were just kind of building up our stock, and I went to like 6 or 7 weddings that summer. I love suits, but I did not wear one suit. I just wore our stuff, you know.
Wow.
I just wore our stuff. Like I was unapologetically African in those
settings.
And even at work, I would wear them to work. I would wear them to go work. And you know, I work in mostly, you know, white dominated spaces. So I come into work and people are like, yo, like, well, they didn't say yo. They say, what are you wearing? And I describe them what I'm wearing, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's really, really nice. Who did it? It's like, then I'll tell them, oh, it's my company. Right. Then they're really like shocked because we're so used to seeing, you know, the tie, the suits and the vest and all that. We're used to seeing that. But when someone comes in with like some African clothing, like a kaftan, it's like, okay, it's really, really different. And we've noticed that not many companies are offering that to men. They aren't really offering that. If you can find them, they are out there, but you have to go through a lot of hoops to find them. So if we can kind of have a ready to wear section where people can come in and just buy the clothes and have it shipped to the house, just like they would, you know, an Amazon package. Right. That's good, because that is also another issue that most people run into if they want African clothing from Africa. They would typically have to, you know, call an auntie over there and maybe send measurements, and they have to like go over there and get the clothes and come back. But we want it to be readily available for men and women too, to easily buy. That was like, that's our whole mindset. We want people to have it quickly.
Right. You know? Right. Yeah. And make it even more accessible, because like even me, when I try to like look for African style clothing, just like at regular stores, like if I'm not shopping on a Black owned store or a Black owned site, because we have a couple sites, like I know a really good one in Michigan, and then there's a lot in Atlanta and things like that, where you know, Black creators are like robust over there. So, and there's some here in LA too, but like over there, like in Atlanta for sure. But like if I walked inside like Target or Ross or things like that, or like any like designer like Forever 21 or things like that, blah blah, you ain't gonna see no African style.
No, you're not gonna see it.
You may see it for women, maybe.
Yes.
But for men, no.
A little tougher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. That is very much why we wanted to have both a women and a men's section, right, for our company, because we even other like African, other companies that sell African clothing, it's mostly tailored to women, right? So we want it to be a one-stop shop for people. So if you're going shopping for, you know, your friend that is a woman, boom, you can do that. If you're going shopping for your friend that's a man, you can go to our site as well, and you can shop. Right. Yeah,
because it's all there. Yeah. It's all there.
Yeah, it's all there. One-stop shop. Yeah.
Nice. And it already seems like that you guys has grown so much in such little time too. And I wanted to ask, because I was reading up on you guys' blog as well. And you even like do some work when it comes to supporting like the local community over there in Canada and the Nigerian community. And I just wanted to like touch base and be like, how's that going? Like, what have you guys done when it comes to like maybe just communicating with them, or maybe you got like some inspiration, whether it's like family or like, you know, the community that's out there that people don't know about that's out there in Canada? Because when I think about Canada, you don't really be thinking that, you know, Black people live up there. Like,
I know.
like you really don't. Like, I have to be reminded that I'm like, oh wait, no, like there would be some brothers and sisters up there if I went up there. Like, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, for sure. It's funny because I saw not to sidetrack too much, but I saw what was it? I think I watched an episode of Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah.
And Drake was on there, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like that's all you think about is him.
Drake was on there,
Yeah.
and he was on he was, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting the name of the show?
Degrassi?
No, it wasn't that. It was on a skit. It was on a skit.
Oh, on a skit. Trying to think.
Why Alex Trebek? He's Canadian. He's actually from Ottawa. Why don't I? It was Jeopardy. That's what it was.
Oh,
it was called Black Jeopardy. It was
oh yeah.
And he was, you know, the Black Canadian, and it was such like a surprise to like the host. He's like, yo, they have Black people up in Canada.
Yeah.
And it was a joke, and it was really funny. Because it's kind of true. Like, I sometimes I talk to like my other friends who are from the States, and they're like, yo, I didn't even know that Black people like that in Canada. Yeah, we do. We you know, we're still out here.
Yeah. Like I have a classmate actually, she's in her PhD right now, and I'm about to start my master's degree. But she's from Toronto. And she's like, yeah, like there's Black people up there.
Especially Toronto. Oh my gosh. Especially Toronto. There's a big Black community in Toronto. They're mostly Caribbean. So the way we even like they influence how people talk.
Wow.
Like it is nuts. Like our slang up here is very, very close to like patois. Like the Jamaican patois, it's very, very. We will use the same words. It's crazy how influential the Black community in Toronto is. It's crazy.
Well, I'm not even shocked. I'd be like, you're shocked that, you know, Black people influence the culture everywhere.
Facts, big facts.
I'm just like, don't be shocked. Sure. We've done it for generations.
Yeah.
So
exactly, same with like if you go over to the UK, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's nuts. Like, hey man, I'm proud of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But to answer your question, you know, we're not a big company right now, and we definitely wanted to not like wait till we became like a bigger company to then start, you know, giving back to our communities, whether it's here or abroad. We really want to make that part of our DNA now. So even though we're not, you know, this billion-dollar company, we can still do things now. We can still, you know, what do we have around us? Okay, we're able to make money from our sales. Okay, we can inject this, we can make a donation to this organization like Yeti, like you read on our blog. Like we can give them something, you know, and that money is used to help kids get like access to education, vocational program, like vocational education, because we just want to help. We just want to help. And that's just like who we are, really. Like we just want to help provide value to those who are around the world who want to express their pride in being of African descent, and at the same time being able to inject funds in the hands of Africans.
Yeah.
because you'll notice like with a lot of our clothing, the overwhelming majority of our clothing is made in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It's made there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a part that we really pride ourselves on, like the fact that we are, even though we're not in the continent of Africa, we're still making an impact.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to do that even as we grow. We want to do that from day one. From day one, we really want to just help as much as we can. Like I remember I had the privilege of doing a presentation. I was invited to a high school, and they just wanted me to like present my like the business.
Mm-hmm.
And it was mostly to students of color, right? Mostly Black and brown students. And like I had a whole like spiel set up. I had like my speech was what I'm going to say, yada yada. I ended up just cutting the whole thing, and it ended up becoming a Q&A.
Yeah.
Right. Like I had this full setup, but it ended up just being a question and answer period for them to like interact and see someone else that looks like them.
Yes.
Doing
that representation.
Yeah. It was, and that part was so like, it really touched me because like, they've a lot of Black and brown students, like even up here, they have things going against them too. Like they have certain biases that they have to fight against too. And for their like their leadership to invite me out and just to kind of like speak to them like meant a lot. Like it really meant a lot. Like I had a bunch of people, like a bunch of students ask me like, hey, I'm trying to start a brand too. Like, oh, what advice can you give me?
Right.
And that part really touched me because sometimes I feel like as Black people, we're pigeonholed into certain professions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Same over here.
We're pigeonholed into certain professions. And I just also want to show like other students, other people that like, no, you can do other things too. Like it's available. That's why Black Panther to me was such a great movie. It was so amazing. Like the fact that like Black Panther's sister led the science and technology of the entire kingdom.
Yeah.
So I watched that movie. I'm like, yo, how many little girls are watching this movie and they're seeing a woman with her natural hair out leading, STEM, technology, all of that, like leading, and it's such a big thing. And I really want to do the same thing. That's how I see it. We're not a big company right now, but it's like being present also brings a lot of value. Being present, being out in your community, having people see you is like another way that we uplift our community. And also, I've been talking a lot. My apologies.
No, you're good. Like, go on, because I was like, this is like hand in hand what we do over here in the United States. So it's like just so refreshing to hear that there's other genuine people out there who have started corporations and businesses and things like that, but not only that, have invested inside the communities that uplifted them to begin with and giving back. So actively, regardless if they have like enough or not. So, or they feel like that, oh, I don't know if this will make a huge impact. It's never the size of the impact, because you can never measure out the size of the impact. Like you just talking to those children, you never know what's that going to lead to. Yeah.
You never know. You never know. Especially now. Especially now. My goodness. Like we're seeing like a lot of turmoil, and it's always good to have that representation. It's always good to have that representation. Just so people can see, like you as an example, like, oh, he looks like me, or she looks like me. I can do this too. Like sometimes that's all what people need.
Right.
I don't know if you're too familiar with that. What was that movie that just came out? Encanto. Yeah.
A movie?
Yeah, it was a movie. It's a Disney movie.
Oh, yeah. And then that clip of the little girl that was like, "Mommy, it's me."
It's
Yeah.
me. Like we kind of, some people see it, some people may see it and be like, it's kind of mundane, but
Right.
to that person is like, I can see myself.
Right.
And if we have more of those people where you can see yourself in a sense, it may even inspire you to go, in a certain direction. If we see a Black person in a prominent position,
right,
that may help someone, because it's like, oh, if this person can do it, oh, I can do it too. So
exactly.
let me work in that direction. Let me go in that direction. And yeah, that's what it is. One thing that we also did too, as to uplift our community, is we actually hosted a dance battle, because yeah, it was an Afro dance battle. It was an Afro dance battle. It was crazy, because me and my other partner we're dancers too. We're avid dancers. We love to dance. We love it. We love it.
Now
Shout
I'm
out to LA
gonna have to see some videos now. So
oh man. Well,
inside of your jacket, it has to be inside the jacket.
We got you. I think I can send you something so you can see it, because I'm also in the video.
Because it's going right on our wall. It's going right on.
Oh man, let's do it. I'll actually send it to you. No problem.
Yeah, send it to me. Send it to me.
And so what we did was, because dancing, it's especially Afro dancing, Nigeria, South Africa, they've been killing it. Ghana too, Ghana too. But we're seeing it everywhere. We thought, like, this was pre-pandemic. We thought, hey, why not do a battle that's purely Afro dances? And we invited judges. We had a cash prize as well.
Wow.
And we had I think the count was like 250 people that came out. And it was just an opportunity to bring the community together, to enjoy some really good dancing, and again, to be unapologetically African in that moment. And a lot of people really liked it. Unfortunately, the pandemic happened like right after, but
at least it got done.
It got done. It got done. We were so proud of how that worked out, and people have been asking, "Hey, when are the dance battles coming back?" So we're like, "Okay, we may do one in like the summertime."
Yeah.
Or, we may do one a bit later, but I just thought I'd throw that in because it was a lot of fun.
Oh my God, that's super exciting. I'm gonna have to see it. I'm gonna really have to see it now.
Yeah, I think we got some really good footage on YouTube, but I can send that to you though. I can send you some of the footage that we got from the dance battle, and like our other dances with the jackets, of course.
Please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Well, we're like creeping up on the end of our interview right now, but I did want to ask you, so where does your pride come from? Where does your African pride come from? So I wanted to ask that, especially since I know that Canada is no exception when it comes to facing like white supremacy, facing oppressive systems and things like that. Now, at what degree, I only know so much. I know that the United States is out of hand. They out of pocket all the time, every time. Like, if you could share just a little bit of what you've experienced and then how you combat it, and say, this is how, regardless of whatever oppression that I faced, it could have been yesterday, and be like, hey, I did this though. Like, I just wanted to get your own personal experience. What is that like, and how do you stay proud?
Okay. So first, I think my pride would come from, the closest example that I have is like my parents. So both my parents immigrated from Cameroon in like the early 80s to Canada to like start their life. And I've just seen them go through so much. I've seen them like work and struggle and toil to get what they have. And obviously, like my extended family also brings me that. It's like, oh, okay, I come from this. And I found out what like tribe I was from, and like all that right there makes me essentially.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's where I get it from. Like my parents, especially my parents, and people from my tribe are known for being very good business people. So that's always an added bonus. That's always an added bonus. Like, yeah, we're known to be very good business people. So I think that's where a lot of like my pride would come from. And for as far as like my experiences, with white supremacy, racism, it's not as dramatic as it would be in the States, because the States is like another tier from the I'm on the outside looking in. It's something else. Like Canada is described by a lot of people as a mosaic, right? Everyone kind of has they kind of keep their cultural identity, but they're still Canadian.
Yeah.
Right? They're still Canadian, but they still keep their cultural identity. But we still have an issue with like racism. So for me growing up, again, going to a predominantly white school, I dealt with, people telling me that I'm not a Black person. I was like that's confusing. You know what I mean? Like that is, I'm like, at the time, I didn't see how racist that was.
Yeah, like
at the time, I didn't.
You sure about that?
Like I'm like, do you see me? Do you see my skin? Like, and the way I would talk, all that stuff would add up. So people were like, yo, you're the whitest Black person I've ever met, yada yada. And it was annoying, but I didn't realize like at that time like how racist that was. It wasn't until later that I realized, like, yo, I'm like, that is some racist stuff that they were telling me. Like they kind of expected a caricature of a Black person.
Yeah.
Just like a stereotype. And that was like my experience. And I went through that for most of like my high school days, So a lot of like my formative years, I had to deal with that. And unfortunately, I also had like my experiences with police, unfortunately. And I would, I'm driving and boom, I get pulled over for some reason. I get pulled over for some reason. I have to explain like, oh, what I'm doing in this car. Like it was crazy. I'll describe it a bit more. So I remember the very first time I got pulled over, it was really late at night and I was driving. And I got to a stoplight. There was a police car to my left. I just looked, right? Because I wasn't really, I was just kind of looking, and I locked eyes with the police officer. So he looked at me, I looked at him, and the light turned green. I kept going, right? So I'm driving, and I think maybe a minute later, lights go off. And I was like,
bro.
And like like when I was driving, I thought that maybe I was in like the wrong lane, because we have dedicated bus lanes. Like I thought initially, oh, I'm driving in the wrong lane. Okay, they'll probably like give me a ticket or whatever.
Yeah.
So I pull over. Police officer comes out. Another police officer goes on the other side. So it's kind of like 2-on-1 type of thing. And they start asking me questions, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I was in the bus lane. Like I was actually legally allowed to be in that bus lane because it was so late at night. But they were asking me like about the car. I'm like, why are you asking me about the car? Like, why? They're like, oh, the car belongs to someone who's much older than you. In my head, I was like, my dad? Like my dad owns this car. And as his son, I got to drive the car. And in that moment, there was like, that means they read the plate. and they looked it all up. They looked it up.
Because they're like, how can he afford that car? It's that young guy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you got
all of that. And I was like, whoa,
you ain't
like
slick.
that is nuts. Obviously, I had to be really calm in that situation and like answer the questions, all that. But when I was driving away, I was like, no, that was messed up. And that's happened to me like 2 or 3 other times. Like, you know, obviously it's not as bad as some of my other friends or even situations in the United States, but it still happens. It still happens up here, you know, because there's still that bias. Like I'll tell some of my other friends and they're shocked. They're like, you got pulled over by the police? Like how? I was like, oh, we still have this issue. We still have this issue that we have to deal with. We have to, you know, we have to face. Like we can try and bury your head in the sand as much as we want, but it's reality.
Right.
It's reality. People have to go through this. Right. You know, and they just happen to have more melanin than some other people. You know, and it's not the greatest. Like even my partners have had experiences with law enforcement that were very fishy, you know. And I think for me, I always tell, you know, my friends or people that I'm talking to, it's like, yes, this is a reality, but you can still make it despite despite race supremacies, despite racism. Like you can still make it. Like you can still do it. And offering that support on the way. Yeah. Because sometimes we try to encourage like our people without recognizing that they're hurting. Yeah. And that's not the greatest solution either. Like just tell them, oh, just get back up, just go, just do it. It's like, yes, I think there's a time and a space for that, but if we also need to recognize that people have gone through things that are traumatic that may be stopping them from moving forward in life sometimes. And it's like, how can we provide that extra help, that extra boost to get them to the right place? So that's how that's like my perspective around how to combat like racism. Yes, it's a thing, but you know, we can keep moving and let's help each other along the way by supporting each other. Oh my gosh, that's one thing that we do a lot too. So even when, I'm sorry, I know we're over time, but one thing that we do as well is that if someone buys a product, especially if they're in Ottawa, our city, and something doesn't quite fit, right? Something doesn't quite fit right. We refer them to our like our master tailor, who is another Black man who has come over and started his own tailoring business. He comes from France, so he knows what he's doing. Yeah, you know, he's trained in that. That's his bread and butter. So when we get clients and we you know, they either buy a product or in the off chance that something doesn't quite fit right and they need a bit of tailoring, we send them over directly to him. Wow. No questions asked. And he's like, and we ask him to take care of them, right? Because that's also another way. That's another way to put money in his pockets. Yeah. Yeah. Right. We refer a lot of our friends, a lot of the people that we're with to him, because not only does he do excellent work, but he is also a Black business owner. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes like it doesn't cost you much to help out your community just by referral. Just by referral. And you know, away they go. Exactly. Exactly. Man, well, I just want to thank you for sharing that. It definitely hits home with me. I remember one time, I'm gonna just share this really quick. I was driving in the South, deep South. So I don't know if you know about deep South, but very racist. I know of the deep South. Yeah, so we were driving in Texas, out of all states. And we got pulled over, me and my family. I was around like 5, 6. And I remember the cop
they weren't. So my dad was speeding. He was speeding.
Okay.
But so he was speeding. He was wrong. But the cop had no questions about him speeding and things like that. Like, oh, did you know?
Oh, shoot.
It was all about like the new expedition that we had.
Yeah,
Things
it's
like
the
that,
car.
blah, blah. And they're like, oh, how can you afford such a nice car and things like that? Like, I don't understand. You have all these kids back here and stuff. It's very surprising that you guys can afford this and blah, blah. Like, he just kept going on and on. And it
Wow.
and I remember like it was yesterday. This is my like earliest memory of like racism. My mom, who's in the passenger side, I've never seen her like so angry before. Turns to the cop and she's all like, I work just like you. And she goes, now are you gonna write the ticket or not? Otherwise, we leaving. And I was
wow, mama showing up. That's crazy. At least police officer I had to deal with had a bit more tact and
she did not care. I was like my mom, day one, she don't play with none of that foolishness. No, so I understand. I understand exactly how that must have felt. And I'm very, very happy that you address the trauma that can be attached to that and how we can come together as a community in order to heal from that trauma and also uplift each other when it comes to either our businesses or if we're doing like advocacy work or anything. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to thank you again. Love to have you back on the show.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, let's make it happen. Yeah.
We can
definitely. I'm not really used to this whole podcast thing. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, like we weren't really used to it either because we're all filmmakers. So
okay, yeah, I was listening to some of your stuff before. Yeah, a lot of you guys are into cinematography and photography. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm like the floating one. I'm a neurologist, so I study the brain and things like that. But I do have like film background, but all of them are like very prevalent when it comes to like actually being involved inside film work. But yeah, would love to have you back on the show and ask you more questions for next time. And please send that video because
I will. I'll send it. I will send it right away.
Yeah.
Can I just send it to your I can just send it to your email?
Yeah, definitely.
I can send you the link. Okay. I'll do that. I'll do that right away. Like as soon as we get off, I'm gonna send it to you.
Right away. I'm gonna be looking for it.
Yeah. Okay.
If I don't see it in 5 minutes, I'm gonna be like, where is it? So
where is it? Call me.
All right, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure.
Let's go.